what could happen? Is making nothing happen in your life? If so, I want you to come down here with me and I want to show you basically a very powerful methodology that allowed me to free myself from myself, because I spent most of my childhood being bullied every single day. I went through so much bullshit, especially with my father leaving me at the age of 2. I developed such a sabotage. About to go, I decided to open a restaurant. I had no idea or where to begin. All I knew was that I was going to need help, and a lot of it. In fact, that was my biggest concern at the time. How would I ever convince anyone to come work with me? And with the restaurant industry's notorious turnover rate, how would I get them to stay? From my own personal experience, I've seen restaurants turn over staff anywhere from 2 to 5 times in as little as the first 6 months. So I reached out to one of my oldest and closest friends and asked for help. He wasn't in the restaurant business at the time, but I knew he was the right man for the job. When it came to restaurants, we shared the same ideas and beliefs. But more importantly, the same was true when it came to team. So back in 2011, we set out and began to build our team. One by one, we found 25 other people willing to join us, many of whom are still with us today, 4 years later. And if you've ever worked in the restaurant industry, you know restaurant years are like dog years. Every one feels like 7. So fast forward to today. We're about to turn 2 years old. We've gone from 27 to 64 staff members. In our first year, both Bon Appetit and GQ magazine named us best new restaurant in America. And to this day, people still line up outside the restaurant before we open, hoping to get a seat. So how did we get here? And how did we do so in such a short period of time? I can honestly say that it is 100% due to our employees. Our talented, ambitious, caring, passionate, and well-dressed employees. That was New Year's Eve. As a chef, it's strange to say this, but I often remind our staff that our food only accounts for 40% of what we do. Sure, we have to nail 39.5% of it, but at the end of the day, our success is dependent upon our people. If there's one thing that I've learned over the past 4 years, it's that we're not in the restaurant business, we're in the people business. So let's go back to when we opened. I thought we had a pretty good chance that we'd be at least somewhat successful. I mean, we had good food, good service, good atmosphere, and we were charging a pretty fair price. And when we opened, we were a hit. We even made a profit in our first month.
Wow.
Mind you, it was only about $750, but for a restaurant, that's actually pretty good. But as time went on, I started to think, maybe we weren't really in the restaurant industry. I started to think, maybe we were in the hospitality industry. I mean, our end goal was not to serve good food or provide good service. Our end goal was to make guests feel good. Our food, our service, those were just the tools we used to make the people happy. They were the means to our end. So as the praise and the awards continued, I started to wonder, was there something more that was helping us achieve such success? I mean, other people had obviously figured out that the restaurant industry wasn't about serving food. It was about hospitality. Danny Meyer even wrote a New York Times bestseller about it. So why were we receiving such unusually large amounts of praise? After asking myself what made us different, I realized it wasn't our food or our service. It wasn't even our hospitality. It was our people. Our people were the reason we had been so successful. Think about it. What makes a business great? Very simply, it's the quality of the product or the service they provide. But who creates those products and services? It's the people who work there. It's the housekeeper who cleans the house. It's the designer who creates the logo. And it's the coffee roaster who roasts the beans. It's those people that make a business great. It's those people that make a business, a product or service, what it is. And the same is true for a restaurant. The food, the service, the decor, those are just the products that a restaurant sells. But it's the people who work there that create and deliver those products. A restaurant needs good chefs to conceptualize, create, and execute its dishes. It needs good bartenders to create delicious cocktails. It needs gracious hosts to welcome the guests. And it needs friendly servers to take care of them throughout the night. So the question becomes, how do you find these people? And once you do, how do you keep them? First, have really great hiring practices. It doesn't matter what business you're in. You need to know exactly what you're looking for. But more importantly, you need to know what you're not looking for. For example, when we're hiring, we always keep in mind that we're looking for people, not positions. We're looking for great people to join our team, not great people to complete a specific task. We don't look for people who have the necessary skills. We look for people who have the necessary desire. And what I mean by that is we look for people who have a strong desire to work with us. Anyone can be taught a skill or a task. Not just anyone can be inspired to care. We don't hire people because they can do a job. We hire people because they want to do a job. And those people are always worth 10 times more than someone with solely great experience. We don't look at resumes. We listen to references. A resume can tell you where someone's worked and how long they've worked there, but what it can't tell you is what kind of person they are. To be honest, we haven't really looked at a resume in almost 2 years. And so far, we haven't regretted that decision once. In fact, quite the opposite. Some of our most successful staff members had little to no restaurant experience when they started. For example, one of our front of the house managers started as an unpaid intern almost a year ago with no restaurant experience. And today, she's second in command of the restaurant and a huge part of managing our daily operations. We look for people, not positions. We look for incredible people from all walks of life. We look for great personalities and attitudes. But in order to get these people, you have to create an environment that they want to be in, an environment that they're attracted to, a place that they want to go every day. We always put our people first. They are your main stakeholders. They are the core of your business, more so than your customers or even your investors. And in fact, if ever there was a secret to attracting and retaining great people, that's it. We all know the expression, good health is hard to find, but it's just not true. In fact, it's easy to find. What's hard to find is a good environment. And I like to think of our business as proof. We no longer have to go out looking for these incredible people anymore. They come looking for us. Turnover is no longer an issue. Yeah, in our first year, we lost like 3 to 5 of our opening staff, but we also gained 37 new team members. In fact, today, we have the opposite problem. We have too many people that we want to hire. So every once in a while, I find myself in this funny situation where I'll have a guest come up to me and say, thank you so much for an incredible meal. And I always say, no, thank you for coming. That I'll often respond, I don't know why you're thanking me. I didn't do anything. I didn't take your order. I didn't greet you at the door. I didn't cook you, and I didn't pour your wine. In fact, I had nothing to do with your meal. And every time I say that, it reminds me that our business is nothing without the great people that we've collected. It reminds me that these people are the key to our success. So if you asked me 2 years ago what industry I'm in, I tell you the restaurant industry. But if you ask me today, I tell you I'm in the people industry. It just so happens I work in a restaurant. Thank you.
My name is Scott Harrison. Just listen.
That was pretty inspiring, I feel like, because with in like I was trying to say it at the very beginning of this whole thing of it doesn't matter who it is, as long if they can do the job, I can teach them how to do the job. That's no problem. What I want is someone that has the desire and want to be there, right? Because we've all been at a job probably that you see someone that doesn't want to be there, that is just negative Nancy or negative John or whatever, type of deal, just very, very negative, and it's those things that having the right people in place really makes you either a successful business, and I'm not even going to say restaurant, but just a successful business in general, right? I mean, uh, you need you need those employees to be able to do the job every single day. So I feel like that that TEDx I consider it very inspiring, just because of he's trying to go against the grain a little bit, not look at resumes. I mean, how many times have we said, resumes are so important, resumes, you gotta have it, and now, realistically, I mean, again, I have seen resumes and I've looked at resumes, and man, you can look really awesome on a piece of paper, but it's either a put up or shut up situation. Can you do it or you don't? That's the deal. And for me is I honestly, I I look for, like, when I hire someone, I look for if they completed, let's say they went to culinary school. Did they complete culinary school? Because that shows me that they have stick with it, right? If they dropped out or whatever else, I look at that. I look at if they're willing to do the job, because there are sometimes, in the industry, it's not always the funnest. You're working when everybody's off, or you're working when late nights and all of that. So you just gotta kind of think. It's one of those things where um you know I feel like it's hiring is so important in building a team. Staffing. So we're gonna the hiring process in restaurant. Hiring process is similar to most of the small businesses, but really it's how you want to hire, okay, and it's how you want to do it. I mean, obviously there's steps a little bit. You need to put out and put out the job listing, right? You've got to put out your job listing, and putting a job listing out on either, let's say Craigslist or Poached or any of those, or just in a newspaper. Um, you need to know, what you're looking for and the qualifications or any of that sort of stuff. But to reduce turnover, excuse me, I got the hiccups. Um, to reduce turnover, you want to make sure you hire the right people. And again, has anybody ever done a stage or know what a stage is?
I haven't done a stage, but I'm going to go on a stage pretty soon
Oh,
for my job that I was just hired for.
okay, and a stage, if you don't know what a stage is like a kind of a, you go work at a business. Let's say I go and say, hey, can I work at your job for one day and just kind of work for free? they usually kind of feed you, or they might, might even pay you a little bit, but usually not. Staging is kind of usually you just go in and it's kind of a free night of work, but you get to kind of try the restaurant out. And a lot of times I do it, staging, or I'll get them to work for free and I'll pay them dinner, or I might get them to do a working interview. But staging, I think, is really awesome because you get to try that company out. You get to try it out as a employee, or as someone that's looking for the job. I get to try them out before they hire me. And that's kind of cool because I can see, because I've gotten hired at jobs, and sometimes that it wasn't a good fit for me. I mean, once I got into the job and I'm like, okay, man, this sucks. I don't like this job. And then I suffered through it. But if I did a stage, or if I kind of was able to kind of work there for a day or two, kind of free, and with what I call no strings attached. Hold on a second. Let me change the attendance. With like no strings attached, right? Because you can, you go in and you work for free or whatever else, but it's a no strings attached. So where if you don't like them, you can just say, okay, great, thanks. I had a great time today, and just never call them back. And as the business, you get to try this new employee out, or someone that you are thinking about hiring. You get to try them out without even hiring them, and then you could just say, if they weren't good, you can just say, okay, thank you, have a great evening. It didn't really work out, or whatever else, and that's it. And then you don't have to worry about firing someone. You don't have to worry about all the paperwork. It's just a kind of, you try me, I try you, and see if it's a good fit. I think that's an amazing way of hiring. Especially when you've already been in an established business. And that's the only thing. You have to be in an established business to do that. If it's a brand new business, you are not going to be able to do that. So you always want to make sure you hire, someone that, or, I mean, you can do a kind of a working interview or get them to cook, but it might not be as a little different if it's a brand new restaurant. Let's see. Hiring restaurant staff. You want the right people. You need the right chemistry. It is a chemistry. We are one big family. Disorderly, disgruntled sometimes. Weird family, but in the restaurant business, it is a huge family. So you want to make sure that it's a good fit for the whole business. Let's see, hiring practice, hiring skills. Okay, when you are when you are hiring, you need you typically apply, especially nowadays, you typically apply online, right? Most applications are online, and I don't. Has anybody ever recently filled out like an actual paper application? Or I think most of them are online now. And with that being said, when some of the like Poached or like Hot Job, any of these job search things, and if you've ever been on the side of searching or looking for an employee, I can set up keywords, or I can set up key phrases, so where it will automatically, capture those resumes or those people that have these keywords that I want to see. So making sure that you kind of are very aware of what that position entails. So where when you're if you're going for let's say a chef position, you need to make sure that, if if you're an executive chef, make sure you write executive chef on there or whatever else, just because if I'm looking for a head chef, one of my keywords is going to be executive chef. And if your resume doesn't have that, I will not ever see your resume. So making sure that you have certain words and certain phrases. I would always look at the job listing, and we're going to be talking about what the job listing is and how important it is, because it's going to set a precedent on who you are going to be hiring, and we'll discuss that in a few minutes, because there's legality when it comes to making sure. Has anybody ever seen, like on a job listing, must be able to stand for long hours, or must be able to lift 15 pounds or something like that? Is most in I would say 98% of the time that phrasing is on job listings. Has anybody ever seen that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've seen it in virtually every ad I've seen, with maybe the possible exception of office jobs where it's,
Yes.
well, or basically next to no lifting. And even then, a lot of office jobs still put in that must be able to lift at least 15, 20 pounds, because whether they're carrying office supplies or something. It just seems like most industries do it.
Exactly. Now, in this might make people feel we're going to be talking about kind of some sensitive kind of, but I can kind of pretty much say, I mean, because as I'll just say it, okay, having people in a wheelchair in a kitchen, working in a kitchen, that is not really very good. Okay, having an employee in a wheelchair, and that is one of the reasons why you see in a kitchen setting, you will always see in a job listing, you must be able to stand for long periods of time. Okay, that makes it so where if I have someone, and I'm not trying to be mean or crude or anything like that, but if there are situations where I have to say I'm not going to hire you, this basically allows me to kind of discriminate a little bit, or not discriminate. I don't like the word discriminate, but like so where we don't have someone in a wheelchair working in a kitchen, and it happens, and I've seen it, but it is one of those things where you've just got to understand. Or for example, if you've seen, this is kind of like, for example, like Disney said, anywhere, any person that works for Disney, they have to, and this is for chefs, and I'll bring my camera down, but Disney, the Chef Pauly, the guy that does the interviews, he gets you to hold out your hands like this, and if it and with your chef jacket, and if you have any tattoos that are showing from here to here, from here to here, you will not ever work at Disney. They require you no visible tattoos, and even if you work in the kitchen, you cannot have tattoos showing your arms. You've got to have natural color hair. And that is all in the job listing. Okay, so you've got to have natural color hair. You cannot have any tattoos. And that allows me to go, okay, I can hire you, I can't hire you. So those job listings are very, very, very important because how you need to be specific on what you're looking for. For example, let's say, I worked at Le Cordon Bleu, and this was, years ago. But when I worked at Le Cordon Bleu, there was a point a few years before they closed down. They were trying to save money and all of that, so they told all employees, all employees, basically, they said, hey, you have 1 year to be tobacco free or nicotine free, the whole company. And if you do not, if you're not nicotine or tobacco free, you will not have a job ever with Le Cordon Bleu again. So that was one of those things that they gave, and this was came down that it now in their, at the point before they closed down, but in the job listing, it was a smoke-free facility and smoke-free company, so our tobacco-free company. So that made, that is in the job title. So it is very, very important, whatever you want to do. If you want someone only with people with facial hair, write it down. But the caveat is the minute you hire someone that has facial hair or that has that you said, it opens you up for legal actions for everybody else that you have denied for the whole time. Anybody, they could come up and do a EEOC, basically an EEOC claim on me for basically me being, not allowing them to be hired because of this or that. So job listings are very, very important. Does that make sense? Does everybody understand that? It is just unfortunately, I mean, whatever, we just have to be, we have to explain exactly what we want at all times. And in your job listing, you need to be very careful on what you want and what you're going to get, because it is out to the public. And once it's out to the public, that means you're opening yourself up to legal action if you do not follow what you have said on those on that job listing. Target, yeah, like I mean, for example, like Glassdoor, all of these advertising or companies, make sure, here's Facebook, Instagram, but LinkedIn is a good professional kind of a professional one. I looked at job listings off of LinkedIn and all of that, but using targeted job advertising, depending on who your clientele or who the people you want to hire, right? I mean, if your group is if your group is if your age group people that you're looking for uses Glassdoor or social, any sort of social media, I think is very important to try to get more, to get your jobs out there, no matter what. I think it's very important. Using professional network, using your personal and professional network, right? I mean, I think that's very important. For example, let's say I don't, most of y'all are in Austin or been in the surrounding areas. So you probably have heard of Chef David Bull that owned or has run maybe Congress or Second Street or like even Lucy's Fried Chicken, couple of those places. I know the owners, and there's been many occasions where the chefs or the owners will say, "Hey, Cliff, do you know this person? You know, what do you think about this person or whatever else?" And that's more professional network of me finding out, talking to other chefs, talking to other, other people, and trying to get references or get people to come with personal, with my own personal network of individuals. All right, y'all want to take, let's take, what is it, 7:50? Want to come back at 8 o'clock?
Heard, Chef.
All right, let's take a few minute break. Cool.
Or Chef?
Give me a second to breathe. We're on a break right now.
My bad. My Wi-Fi was acting
It's,
up.
it's all good, man. We're just on a break. We'll at 8 o'clock we're gonna reconvene.
Okay.
Thank you. It doesn't matter about the vacuum. I didn't say anything. I just went upstairs because I didn't need to say anything, but I was letting you know why I went upstairs. That was it. All right. Let me start sharing. I think I stopped. All right, so here is, hiring front of the house people. You want to have skilled people. You want to have them keep customers happy, service quick, you know, any of that, just making sure that you, when you are hiring front of the house people, you just need to make sure whatever descriptions, whatever you want, write it down, like this, we are hiring servers, bartenders, hostess, sous chefs, line cooks, and dishwashers. We are looking for highly motivated individuals for our restaurant. If you love working in a, fast paced, a family kind of a operation, da 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 da. Here it is. Here's your no phone calls, please. A lot of times, restaurants don't like, or the chefs don't like to get phone calls in the back of the house or whatever else. A lot of times it's just by email, whatever else. But speaking of emails, and I'm going to get off on a little tangent real quick, and that is make sure when you are looking for a job, use a professional email address, not some, hot sexy legs or .com or it just make it professional, guys. You can go get a new email address or whatever else, instead of having some unprofessional email. I mean, I have seen so many unprofessional emails. I mean, if I'm having to type in an email and it's some unprofessional one, I usually don't even look at their resumes or whatever else. It's just, I don't know. It's just kind of one of those things that's so easy to get, I've got like three or four different email addresses. It's one of those things where you want to make it professional and have a professional. I have one set up in my real name is Clifton Joseph Dickerson. So I have a cliftonjdickerson@gmail.com. I mean, or just find something that's very professional, that looks good. When you do communications to, like, I don't know, to any business, for sure. Personal email, that's fine, but your friends or family. But when you're doing it as a professional, make sure you have a professional email address, whatever it is. I don't care. I just don't want to see some, Cliff 420 or Cliff, or whatever, some random crazy ones. So please make sure you make it professional. Job descriptions. Here you go. This is basically kind of how you prevent, you are basically describing what kind of business, what kind of people you want. Now, let's talk about hiring. Sometimes, like bigger companies, like hotels, let's say, they have an HR, human resource, and human resource sometimes deals with a lot of the job, hiring and all of that. Usually the executive chef or whoever it is, whatever position they're looking for, whoever the main boss is, they usually, they look at all the applicants, but sometimes the HR human resources, they do more of the legwork or the busy work. They'll do all the paperwork, and it's less paperwork on the chef or on whoever position it is, because the human resource department deals with that. But there are many laws and regulations that you've got to be very careful when you're interviewing and when you're writing out job descriptions, and that is kind of one of them. If you're an equal, if you require a drug test, you got to write that down there. You got to, there are some things that you have to have on those job descriptions. But for sure you need what you do, what is your job description? I mean, what do you do for that job? A job, could someone read this slide for me? Excuse me. Could someone do that for me real quick? I'm gonna mute myself.
Job descriptions. A job analysis is a process that carefully examines a job and determines what its duties are. The analysis also determines the type of person who would be ideal for the job. People who are looking for a job look at the job description carefully before deciding whether to apply. Therefore, getting the contents right is vital if you want to recruit a suitable person.
Thank you. Sorry, I all of a sudden started coughing and I couldn't stop for a second. All right, thank you. And who was that read? I didn't even see.
It was Victoria.
Okay, thank you, Katarina. I appreciate it. Thank you. All right, that was pretty self-explanatory. Thank you. So job descriptions, you need, here are some certain things you need, like the job title, obviously, who the immediate boss is, what kind of skills, what kind of qualifications, what's the salary, what's the goals or objectives, what are my candidate, what does the candidate need to have, and this helps narrow down your field of applicants, right? Because if I just say, hey, here's the job and no information, I'm going to have a lot more excuse me, a lot more people applying that maybe is not qualified or that might not qualify for this job. So that's why you put as much information as possible in there, right? You want to make sure that person has a good, clear idea of what job this is and what it entails, right? So where then they can make that judgment of if I want to apply to this job or not. Most common, hold on. Sorry, my allergies started acting up. All right, location, where is the job based out of, right? You want to know where the job is it in Texas, if it's in California, is it wherever else, or if it's in Austin. Does the employee sometimes have to work elsewhere? Is there travel? You need to make sure if there's any travel or any of that sort of stuff, you need to have that on there. Immediate boss, relationship with other people in the organization. Qualifying skills. Do you need to know Excel? Do you need to know, what are, all the other, do you need to know a kind of a POS system, that sort of stuff. What kind of skills they need? Do they need to know how to bake cakes? Do they need to know how to do culinary and or savory and pastry type of deal? So what it is, and then salary, the bonuses. Are you able to get any bonuses? The perks, meaning you get a free hotel room. Do you get do you get to stay at the resort once a year, or do you get health insurance? Do you get 401k? Do they match the 401k? Do they have a bonus, program or anything like that? Let's see, special demands, like any special requirements that, like lifting heavy equipment, exposure to high temperatures or very cold temperatures. For example, if for inventory, people have to go in the freezer and sit in a freezer for a long period of time and count That's extreme temperatures. And I've had employees that have very bad circulation, and they can't sit in a freezer and do a bunch of count because their hands, freeze up, or their toes freeze up, or whatever else, if they have bad circulation and all of that. So making sure that, temperature, that kind of stuff, or working in front of a a fire pit, or in a like a Brazilian open flamed fire pit, or what have you, some extreme temperatures, anything like that. You have to work with very caustic material, or very a lot of chemicals, or any of those things. You need to make sure you have that down there. Because no matter what, you're trying to make sure that the employee, the person that you're trying to hire, has the most information to decide if they want this job or not. Because I don't want hundreds of applicants. I really don't. I want to narrow it down to a very small field of people, because that helps me out, because of this all takes time. Guys, hiring takes a lot of time and a lot of money. And when I say a lot of money, people don't realize, the executive chef has to take personal time, right? They take personal time to interview, to do all of that. That's money, personal, or not personal money, but they could be doing other things. So money, sometimes it doesn't come out. Drug tests cost nothing anymore. Background checks cost like absolutely nothing anymore. They used those were the two big costly items, and that's why they were done closer to the end of interviewing, because drug testing and background checks used to be the most expensive things. Now they're dirt cheap. So and God, for goodness sakes, guys, and I'm going to get on a tangent. Please, if you know you're not going to pass a drug test, do not apply, or do not try to, do it if you know you're not going to pass a drug test. That is just the most ridiculous thing possible. If you know you're not going to, don't. Or go buy a drug test from HEB or from CVS and try it yourself before you go, because no matter what, you failed a drug test for me, you're what I call, you're banned. I put your name on a wall, and no matter what, if you try to if you try to hire, apply again, I'm not going to hire you, because you've just wasted all my time and my money and and I'm not going to ever hire you. So please don't ever do that. It is so cheap now to test yourself. So go test yourself before you go get tested at a restaurant or at a business. And a lot of times restaurants don't do that anymore. But bigger hotels, like if you work at a hotel, if you work at bigger companies, a lot of companies still do that. So you still need to be very careful with what you do, especially because Texas is still not legal. So you've got to be very careful. Let's see. Any questions so far? And I've got a couple of new people in this class too, that came over. What teachers did y'all have with my new folks? I don't even know that. Did y'all have Chef Lindsay? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
All right. Cool. And what time was Chef Lindsay's class?
2 to 5.
2 to 5. Okay, so there you go. There is a 2 to 5 class for anybody that needs to move to a different time frame. All All right, so let's see. Okay, so employee information regarding the job description, job aids, or anything. Now we're going to be talking about job aids. Now, as in a job aid is something that will help you do your job better, right? It's like something that usually, it's like sometimes a picture. Like, for example, has anybody ever seen the hand washing? It's like by a hand washing station. It's somebody picture with a hands and soap or something like that. It shows you how to wash your hands. It's a little job aid or a little kind of a picture of how to wash your hands. That is considered a job aid. Or, and we're going to be talking about job aids in a little bit. And I think so. Just remember when we talk about job aids in a little bit. So job description. Here you go. You got title. You have the job summary. You got the task responsibilities, the qualifications, who your supervisor is, working conditions. Are you going to be on your feet, hot up and down, hot and cold, outside, inside, in any of that, whatever physical, if you have to, you know, stand for long periods of time, bend, use large equipment, use like a forklift or a certain equipment. And also I need to be very careful on my age requirements. I've got, you have different ages, like the Texas Workforce Commission. I cannot let a 16-year-old kid work a meat slicer. They cannot work a meat slicer. They have to be 18 to work a meat slicer. So there are certain ages for certain, to use certain equipment. So you've got to be aware of the age range and what the requirements are and the hours of even a younger person. You cannot, and what I would consider an underage person, someone that is, 16 or 15 or whatever else, you cannot, you can't work them too many hours. You have certain hours, and I can't remember how many hours they can work. But there are some qualifications and some things you've got to be very aware of. So, making sure that you have that written down if there's an age requirement, some like as a, like a bartender or whatever else, those are age required things. So you've got to be very careful on that as well. And then you've got salary and benefits, hourly, if it's hourly or it's salary. Again, we'll talk about the benefits of hourly and salary, working hourly and then working salary. And there's some pluses and minuses to both. If you're full-time, part-time, non-exempt, exempt, part-time 20, you have all sorts of different kind of ranges, but that is what you would want as a job description. It's a good example of a job description. For food service, let's see. Okay, so this is just a job description right here. It's pretty, responsible for guest requests in a timely manner. You need to be friendly and good manners. You got to take the guest food and beverage orders and put in the orders. This is basically a job description of what that job entails. So here is the job, here's some of the job description. Okay, here you go. And then this kind of goes in more detail of, what what you have to do on a daily basis, serving alcohol and non-alcoholic beverages according to the federal and state and local authorities. I need to make sure that you have your TABC if you're working in Austin or in Texas. You need to have your TABC license or certification to serve alcohol, and it needs to be current. If you don't have that TABC certification, you cannot serve alcohol, plain and simple. And if you do, the restaurant owner and the person serving food can be held liable, legal, financial, and financially legal and criminally illegal, because you could get thrown in jail or all of that, and you've got to you've got to be careful in that. And ensure serving station is well stocked. Obviously that is part of a restaurant's or a server. So that would be what a job description for a server. Here's a job description for a line cook. A successful candidate will play a key role in contributing to our guests satisfaction, the goals by setting, and it just kind of goes and it explains exactly what a line cook should, what we should have for a line cook, the rest. And so all of what I'm trying to say is you need to be very specific, so, here it is, title, job summary, task. That would be the job summary, or the description of what you're going to be doing. So very, very important. Onboarding and training new employees. Onboarding is like, bringing people on board, obviously, and training, making sure that, I think it's very important to have a orientation. I've been at jobs that have orientations, and I've been at jobs that did not. I felt like I was more successful when I had a job that had a good orientation, that would tell me, that would sit down, that would spend a day with me, trying to make sure that I'm going to be very successful. I don't like jobs that you get thrown in baptism by fire, just thrown into the situation and they say sink or swim. Now, and sometimes you are in that position when you're a line cook, or when you get thrown into a line cook position. Sometimes it is a sink or swim. But when you get into management, or when you get into roles that are a little more, that you need a little more skill, or I would say, like as a manager, you need multiple skills. You need to, obviously know how to cook or do that job. You also need multiple other skills, and I think it's important to make sure that you have those skills. So anyway, so training your employees, very important. So orientation, training people how to clock in and clock out, guys. I cannot tell you how every position, every restaurant, every business has a different clock in, clock out. If you're hourly, I had an employee that, or I knew an employee that, did not know how to clock in. And it was my fault because I didn't show them. I assumed that they would know, and I just, and that was my bad, but that was that was something that I learned over the years, that I need to make sure that I don't assume that they should know how to clock in and out. So it's very important to give that information. The employee only has the information they get from you. So you need to make sure that you give them the proper information. I mean, has anybody ever been at a job that, you know, you like, they did not train you, and anybody have that? They just kind of a sink or swim, or no orientation, no nothing. They just kind of threw you into the situation, and that was it. It's a very kind of scary situation. You know, you could easily, you know, because you don't know if you're going to do something wrong or do it right. It's a very, your anxiety could get the best of you on that. So you've got to be very careful with that. Making sure you train properly, train, and retrain again. That's how people get better. You know, for sure, I training, and we're going to be talking about training, and I think there's a whole day about training. So resumes, resume is a document they use by, you know, people for background, skills, and accomplishments. Again, like that guy said on the you know, video, you know, he doesn't look at, he did not look at resumes much anymore for the past couple of years or whatever else. But you know, a resume is at least a little snapshot of a person, and it's not always the best thing, because I have seen, you know, people that just can't, you know, look great. They look great on paper, but they're a hot mess in person. Or the paper looks like a hot mess, and then but they're amazing on in person. So sometimes, I mean, it's kind of a crapshoot. I mean, it's, once you get someone in there, then you can kind of use your in you know, intuition, your gut, your feeling, and sometimes, you know, it takes a little bit of time to get your gut feeling of people, and all of that, and that takes a little bit more practice and time on knowing how, you know, the characteristics of the people you're looking for, and the traits that you're looking for. You know, you don't always want to hire someone just like you. You know, I mean, you want to, because sometimes, you know, you need to you need to kind of spread it out, and I think it's very important to look at the resumes, but not completely pick solely because of a resume, because a resume is just one document, one thing. Now, cover letter, you know, yeah, there's cover letters and all of that. That kind of helps out, but excuse me. But the one thing I have is I have multiple resumes. I have like a resume for being an educator. So I have a that spotlights more of my education, like my teaching experience from like Le Cordon Bleu, and from here, and from a high school that I taught culinary arts at a high school or whatever else. So I have my you know, resume for that. Then I have another resume for just my executive chef, my cooking side of me. And then I have another resume that's more the management side of me. So I have 3 different resumes that, depending on what job I'm looking for, it depends on what resume I put out, because one spotlights my teaching, one spotlights my cooking, one spotlights my management. So it really kind of depends on what you know, what position I'm looking for. And I would suggest all of you to, you know, as you get along in your career, have those resumes, and have those resumes on your phone or on a device that you can easily send to people immediately, because you never ever know who you're going to find or who you're going to see. And I always keep my resume with me at all times. And I think that's very important. But because if someone, like I was like at the Hill Country Food and Wine Festival, type of deal, or the Wine and Food Festival, I mean, there's a lot of celebrity chefs. We've had a few of the students that were working for them, and they were like, hey, can you send me your resume? Yeah, bam, done. And they got externships, or they got, whatever else. So, it's very, it's very important to have that, but it's not always the end all be all thing that people are going to hire you just because of your resume. It's sometimes they want to see your skills. I want to see, I would do working interviews. I would make someone go, I would give them a chicken. I would give them a couple of different items, and I would say, okay, cook something with this. So where I can see if they know how to cook, see if they know how to, do certain basic things, and if they know how to do those basic things, that means that I don't have to babysit them as much and hold their hand as much, type of deal. Now I talked to you about the cover letter. I mean, yes, well, hold on. Resume, I would not have it no more than 2 pages, but I would suggest trying to have it to 1 page, maybe front and back. But when you have 2 pages, a lot of times it gets lost or whatever else. But nowadays, resumes are digital now. You send them digitally, so they're not going to get as lost as much as they used to back in the days when you would have a bunch of, I would have stacks of resumes that I would, weed through and all of that. But nowadays, I can kind of weed through them digitally a little bit easier. But the cover letter, cover letters there to help kind of give a little bit more information than what your resume does. It's a little more personal. You can kind of talk more about, your specific specific items or what have you. Let's see. Okay. Just it kind of overview. But what should a resume have? It should have your full name, contact information. You know what? Addresses. Nowadays, I rarely, I don't really care about an address anymore. But your contact information, your email address, your cell phone number, whatever I can get a hold of you. Any education, any research, any publications. If you have a cookbook, or if you were published in a magazine or whatever else, any experience, skills, certifications. Like, I'm a certified executive chef, so I have a certification through the from the American Culinary Federation, saying I'm a certified executive chef. So I have that. I have Surf Save certification. I have my TABC certification. I've got my, what else? I've got many other certifications. Food and F&B, food and beverage certification. So there's multiple certifications you can write down. Then any memberships, like our languages, for sure. If you speak another language, put it down there, man. Very important. I would hire someone in a heartbeat that knows multiple languages. because I mean, for sure, I did a disservice to myself. I did not learn. I only know what I call kitchen Spanish, and I wish I had learned. I didn't go to French class and didn't learn French. I wish I learned Spanish because it would have helped me out a lot in this industry. But I think that that's something. But spotlighting your languages, any sort of languages, anything that sets you apart from somebody else. That's what I want you to spotlight, because that's what you're trying to be better than your neighbor, right? You're trying to make you better than anybody else. So make sure that you spotlight anything that could potentially be an asset to you. Okay. References, guys. References. Please make sure you call your references before you let them know you're doing it. There's many times I get it. I say, okay, yeah, she can be a reference. I can be a reference or whatever else. But man, you gotta let me know. I mean, if I've told you that many years ago, and then I get a phone call saying, hey, you're a reference for this and such person, dude, you got to give that reference a heads up that you're calling or that you're applying for a job. Like, for example, there was this guy I worked, and this was been about 3 years ago or 4 years ago, or whenever Le Cordon Bleu shut down. I don't know when that was. I can't remember. Time meshes now, but he and I were chef instructors at Le Cordon Bleu together, and he actually just texted me about a month ago and was like, "Hey, I'm applying for this executive chef position. Can you be a reference for me?" And I was like, "Yeah, for sure." But you got to give them a heads up, man. You can't just spring it on it, because then you look like a fool as the employee or the person because that person is not, yeah, it's been a while, or they're not clued in, and it looks bad on that person. So make sure you make sure you have professional and some professional references, whatever else. Make sure that the people that you put down are going to sing good praises about you. Don't ever have some iffy person, some person that you think it could be one day they like me, the next day they don't, whatever else. So that you just got to be very careful with your references. I'm good with not watching the building a resume. Are y'all good with not watching that video? Okay, and the cover letter, y'all good with that? Not watching that? Everybody good?
Sounds good, Chef.
All right. I don't. That's not a good video anyway. But here is a good example of a cover letter. Again, your name, information, just a good kind of if you want to use this as a guide, this is a good guide for a cover letter. But guys, especially nowadays, you can search up, line cook cover letter, and you can find thousands of cover letters for a line cook position. And so you can kind of get ideas on how you would want to set up your your item or your cover letter. Let's see, job interviews. Now, job interviews. All right. Okay, so job interviews are one things that I feel like has to happen. I think more in person. It's very hard for me to get a feel for someone honestly on a computer. Okay, I can like this, I mean, it is what it is, but I have a very hard time getting a feel or a gut feeling when I'm doing a online or a over the phone interview. It's very hard, because I look at all sorts of things. I look at the mannerisms. I look at how they sit. I look at if they're comfortable, if they are fidgeting or whatnot. I mean, there's so many things I look at to kind of determine how this person or these people that I'm interviewing will be in our business, in our with the other employees. And I think it's very important to make sure you get that feeling, and you kind of can, and that's a little hard to be online, but when you're interviewing, man, you for sure, make sure um, you're ready. Don't come in, half cocked type of deal of be ready. Know what position. Oh, sorry. Know what position you're going for. Know a little bit about the company. Know a little bit. Do your research. Make sure you kind of research us or the company a little bit. I always love to hear that someone researched us because that makes me feel like they want that job. If they're spending their time looking and researching the company and me or whatever else, they that person tends to want that job a lot more than someone that just comes in that, hey, do you know anything? If I ask a question of, hey, have you looked at our menu? And if I hear no, well, obviously, that person didn't want the job enough to take a time before the interview to look at the menu. Does that kind of make sense? So making sure that you sorry, I accidentally muted myself. To make sure that the person knows exactly what they're getting into, and that's kind of one of those things of being ready. If you're dressing for an interview, this is how I determine how to dress. If I'm interviewing a chef, I always wear my chef's jacket. I always wear my chef jacket if I'm interviewing with anybody in the kitchen staff. If I'm interviewing with HR, a human resource, if I'm interviewing with HR, I always wear a little nicer clothes, not my white jacket. I usually wear, khaki pants or a nice shirt, whatever else. But I dress for the interview, but no matter what, I always bring my knives with me. Never fails, because I would always be prepared no matter what, because there's some times where they say, hey, can you go ahead and, can you do something, work right now, or can you do this? You're like, yeah, let's go. And you're ready. So being prepared, very important when you're in an interview. And be there on time. Okay, guys, and when I say on time, that's like 15, 20 minutes early, but don't go in early, just get there earlier, so where you're not, if you feel like there's going to be a lot of traffic, the chefs, we only have a certain, or the people in the kitchen, we only have a certain amount of time to do interviews, because usually we got we've got service coming up, we have lunch service, we have breakfast service, we have dinner service, we have some sort of thing going on at all times. So we always need to make sure that, you know, timing is important, and if you're going to be late on an interview, then you're probably going to be late at work. So I'm not going to want to hire you, plain and simple. That's already a nail in the coffin for me. If someone comes in already late for an interview, if they can't even be on time for an interview, how the heck are they going to be on time for their job? So making sure that they do that. And guys and girls, make sure you don't wear too much perfume or cologne. You don't want to overpower. You know, I would be very careful on that, because again, we don't like cologne or perfume in the kitchen because that stifles our senses, right? Because we smell and we do all of that. We want to, and so making sure, you know, that, or if you smoke, don't be like smoking all in your car and you look like you smell like a cigarette, you know, butt. You know, please make sure you, you know, again, because most of the time when you're interviewing, you're in a small room, you're in a small little area. Make sure you brush your teeth good. Make sure you know, wash your face. I don't want to see eye boogers all up in people's eyes and all of that sort of stuff. You know, because I don't want that for my servers, you know, because if I have a dirty server, or someone that doesn't know how to clean themselves, I don't want to hire them as a server, because they are my people that are like in front of my customers immediately. So I need to make sure that they fit the part and they fit the mold of my restaurant, right? You know, I think that's important as well. And for that, let's see. Let's watch one of these interviews.
Good grammar and spelling are important, but if you want to write essays that inspire, messages that forge brighter connections.
This question covers a dreaded "tell me about yourself" question. You hate this question. All of my clients hate this question, but it's a question that starts off 99% of job interviews. I highly recommend spending some time on this question. It's going to make a world of difference to your interview performance and your results. Let's get started. Why does every interviewer ask this question? Along with variations like, walk me through your background, tell me more about you. It sounds like a harmless way to start a job interview. It's very open-ended, not particularly difficult. Everybody should know a little something about themselves that they can talk about, right? From the interviewer's perspective, it's an easy way to get the conversation going. They just want to get you talking and dive into the relevant information. For the candidate, the dread comes from the fact that the question is so open-ended. You could answer in so many different ways, and people aren't quite sure what the best way is. What does this person want to know about me? They stumble, they falter, they talk too much about ancient history, and that's a terrible way to start an interview, by fumbling around and sounding confused, or worse, boring your interviewer. Instead, I want you to embrace this question, because answering this question well is one of the most effective things you can do in the entire interview. It allows you to set the tone. It gives you some power and autonomy in this interview situation, where you may otherwise feel nervous and at the mercy of your interviewer. By starting strong, you make a great first impression and shape the dialogue that comes next. Take the time to prepare how you want to tell your story, and ensure you make a first impression that leads to a job offer. Here's how you should craft your "tell me about yourself" response. Think about it as an elevator pitch, a focused overview that's concise enough to deliver during an elevator ride. Your elevator pitch as a job candidate should include your top selling points for the position. Your top selling points are going to be a little bit different from job to job. You want to give a little bit of your personality and your interest in the opportunity along with your selling points. You want to sound natural and spontaneous while also covering the points that you want to communicate to make the best possible impression. I'm going to teach you to outline a standard answer that can also be customized for different opportunities. I recommend a bullet point approach, not a scripted approach. Scripted answers tend to sound stiff and artificial. Interviewers don't feel like they're getting to know the real you. Instead, I suggest that you outline the bullet points that you want to cover and leave room for spontaneity in terms of exactly how you deliver the points each time. Then, with a little practice, you'll find that your answers will naturally evolve as you get comfortable with what you want to say. Once you know your key speaking points, you'll have room to be flexible and deliver differently in every single interview. It's not unlike how a celebrity prepares with a publicist before hitting the talk show circuit. They want to sound genuine and likable, so they don't script their remarks, but they do have an idea of the topics they want to cover, promoting the new movie, telling a funny story about their coworker. You know how it goes. So let's get started with outlining your elevator pitch. We've got a great 3-step formula for you. Step 1, who you are. The first key component is a confident, compelling statement of who you are professionally. The most common mistake I see is candidates starting this answer by going back to the beginning of the resume and walk through their experience chronologically and often in way too much detail. This approach is weak because it leaves with out-of-date and irrelevant information, instead of leading with what's most impressive about you right now. For most candidates, this includes a reference to their current position, as well as an overview of the breadth and depth of their related experience. Let's take a look at a couple of examples to give you a sense of what I'm talking about here. So here's our first candidate. Who are you? Well, I'm a recent Columbia MBA graduate with a strong background in the pharmaceutical industry. This puts the emphasis on that shiny new MBA and a candidate's industry experience. Here's another approach from a different candidate. I'm an experienced HR executive who has managed all aspects of the HR function, from recruiting to training to benefits. This is a nice big picture, high-level introduction for someone who has a diverse skill set within the HR function. It concisely summarizes a diverse background. Now let's look at a not-so-good example. Well, I grew up in Cincinnati. As a child, I originally wanted to be a fireman and later became quite interested in dinosaurs. I excelled in the sciences from early on, placing first in my 4th grade science fair. You know, funny story about that.
That face that is usually covered by her phone has finally made an appearance.
Okay, way TMI. Sadly, the interviewer does not really care. And I realize this is an exaggerated example, but trust me, I've heard a lot of people go the TMI route. The idea here is to start strong and grab their attention before getting into the details. Tell them how you want them to see you. Step 2, why you're qualified. Step 2 is kind of like the meat in the sandwich of your tell me about yourself answer. The idea here is to plan in advance which details to share that are most likely to knock the socks off of this interviewer. Remember, your interviewer doesn't have endless amounts of time. Focus on 2 to 4, maybe 5 points that you'd like to make. The goal is to keep it under 2 minutes total. So think about it. What are those 2 to 4 points? There will be more time for detail later, so focus on the biggest selling points. The stuff that you think, if you were the interviewer, would make you perk up your ears and say, this is interesting. This could be a classic reverse chronological overview of your last few positions, or it could be a list of key accomplishments tailored to the job requirements. So let's look at an example here of how you might present that middle piece of the answer. I spent the last 6 years developing my skills as a customer service manager for Mega Company Inc., where I've won several performance awards and I've been promoted twice. I love managing teams and solving customer problems. This is a very concise example, and yours can certainly have a bit more detail. Just keep in mind that the overall answer should be no longer than 2 minutes. What's good about this answer? Well, the emphasis is on relevant experience, and not just that, but proof of performance. It's not a summary of job duties. A lot of people make that mistake, both on the resume and in the interview. When asked about what you did somewhere, you're not just going to rattle off the duties that any human would have done in the position. You're going to focus on what you did that was above and beyond, accomplishments, competencies, all of it tailored to what's relevant for the job description. Step 3, why you're here. This is your chance to express enthusiasm for the position in 1, maybe 2 sentences. Keep it short and sweet here. Here's an example of one way to do this. Although I love my current role, I feel I'm now ready for a more challenging assignment, and this position really excites me. This is very general. You could use it for a lot of different positions. If you can make it a bit more specific for the job, even better. But something along these lines will work well. You'll have time to get into more detail later, to show that you researched the company, to show why you're a great fit for the role. The goal in this moment is to wrap up your pitch in a concise, confident way and show your enthusiasm. Once you've got bullet points for each of the 3 steps, it's time to put them all together into a polished, powerful elevator pitch. The key is to practice a bit and find your rhythm, find your flow. You can practice a time or 2 with your notes handy. Then, once you've internalized the general outline, It's going to feel more natural. Your personality is going to come through. To give you an idea of how it can all come together, I want to share an example answer. Here's a candidate with their version of the answer to tell me about yourself.
I have more than 5 years experience as a technical project manager at top Wall Street companies. Most recently, I helped develop an award-winning new trading platform. I'm a person who thrives in a fast-paced environment. So right now, I'm looking for an opportunity to apply my technology expertise along with my creative problem-solving skills at an innovative software company.
Your version will be even stronger, a bit more detailed, tailored to the particular type of opportunity. Now that you know what you need to do to ace this answer, it's time to outline your own bullet point for each of the 3 parts and start practicing. Big Interview has more sample answers and a fantastic practice tool to help you make the best possible first impression with Tell Me About Yourself.
Is it really possible to land your dream job in the next 5 to 6 weeks without job searching? Hell.
Hopefully when interviewing for a job, you have practiced ahead of time, you know the things you want to say, and you're not going to slip up in any way. But I have sat in a ton of interviews, and there are some mistakes people make. Some I think are from nerves, some are from just not knowing better. So today I am going to give you 10 things you should never say in an interview so that you don't make the same mistakes and get the job in the end, okay? So I'm Cassandra, and I help motivated professionals build their careers and businesses through practical tips to gain career confidence. Let's get started. So before we start, I have to give this week's You Got a Job shout out. So this goes to Shahira Abdullah. She said she asked the hard question at the end of her interview, and within an hour, they called her and told her she got the job. So congrats to Shahira. If you want to know what that hard question is, I will put a card to that video right here. And if you like interview content, please make sure to give this one a thumbs up, hit the subscription button and the notification bell so you know when new videos come out. And if you want a shout out, make sure you come back on any video. I read every comment, so it doesn't matter what video, any video, and let me know that you got the job, what helped you, etc. And you might be my next shout out. Okay, so let's start talking 10 things you shouldn't do. So this first one is going to sound really surprising, but I got asked it a lot in the last week. What would I do in this role? Okay, so normally your chance to ask questions comes at the end of the interview, which means you just spent a significant amount of time talking about what you assume you would do in the role. I've had people literally say, so like, what would I be doing here? And it's not like there wasn't a job description with very distinct line by line details of what they would do in this position. It just doesn't leave a good impression. It makes the interviewer wonder, did you do your research? Do you know what we do here? Or are you just going to any interview? If you're not sure of what it looks like all the time, right? Because the job description will only show you so much. It's more about how you pose this question. So you might want to say something more like, I would love to hear what a typical week is like in this position, or what are 3 things you hope the person in this role would accomplish in the first 90 days? Those will give you an idea of what you'd be doing without going, so like, what does this role do? 2, when people start saying things like, oh, well, I can handle any situation, just talking in a way as like they've never messed up a day in their life, there's never anything that's thrown them. I used to work in entertainment. I love when people in entertainment go, oh, well, I can handle any situation. You work in that industry a couple months, you tell me how much you can handle. You're not a superhero. You are not perfect. There are going to be things that will mess you up. Now, you don't have to talk about those, but just make sure you don't talk in absolutes of, I'm good at everything. I can handle that, no problem. It's not going to go over well. Okay, number 3, you can't ask about pay. They will talk about salary when they are ready to talk about salary. So do your research on salary.com, on Glassdoor. This is why we have friends in our industry. We get to know people so we can ask them. Once you know people, they'll let you know these sorts of things. Get a ballpark that way of what the salary is, but you're not going to ask about it. I have gone to many an interview where I did not know what the salary would be until the final interview. It's just how the game goes. Number 4, don't speak negatively about old bosses, old coworkers, just other work situations. This can be hard, y'all. I know I have been in toxic work environments. I know some of you have and have asked me about this. This is why we practice ahead of time, because you can't sit there and be like, oh, my last boss was like super lazy and never did anything. And so I never got the advancement I wanted because he didn't further my career. No, can't say it. You need to find ways to talk about situations without throwing anyone under the bus. Number 5, you don't want to say things where you come off cocky. There's a very fine line between confidence and cockiness. Be careful that you are not bragging. Yes, you are supposed to talk about what you've done in the past and how it relates, and you're going to kind of sell yourself a little bit, but you don't need to sound like you're doing the company a favor. People just kind of talking like an end body language, leaning back. I mean, like, yeah, like I could do that. And this is how I've done it before. And, no problem. Right. It's just an air of, I've got this. Sometimes it's stories where you just keep saying, and I did this and I did that. And this person did this thing, but I did blah, blah, blah. You're not better than anyone else. You need to make sure you're using words like we, especially if you're at a company, interviewing at a company where they like collaboration. It can't be the me show. You need to talk about we. You need to talk about bringing others in. You need to talk about our idea. So make sure you sound confident in the things you did, but not cocky. And this is another reason why I really think.
Check this out. I'm going to show you how we built a $50 million coaching company with one.
Practicing with another person is really important, because sometimes you don't realize that you're coming off this way, right? So grab a friend and make them hear your answers. Or if you want stronger feedback, you can hire me and we can do this together. So and the link to how to do that is in the description box. This is why it's a great opportunity to practice with someone else. You get feedback and hear like, hey, am I towing the line? Do I sound confident? Or have I delved into cocky? Okay, sometimes we're at a spot where we need a job really, really bad. It is about paying our rent next month and we just need a job. So tip number 6 though is do not tell them I really need this job. Like this is super important. I need the money. It's not gonna go over well. Instead, just keep showing enthusiasm. Hiring managers are more likely to hire the person who is enthusiastic and passionate about the role over the one with the right skill set. Make sure you are showing your enthusiasm for the company. So on the inside, you can be like, oh, I really need this job. Let that come out, and the idea of, I am just so excited for this opportunity. I think this job is a great fit for me, and here are the reasons why. They don't need to know we're like scraping the change out of our car. All right, number 7, do not blame answers on nerves. Like, you don't need to say out loud, oh, I'm sorry, I'm just really nervous. They know you're nervous. It's okay that you're nervous. It's okay if nerves show a little bit. I did a whole video on how to calm interview nerves. I'll put a card to it here and in the description box below. But just know, they already know you're nervous, so you don't need to state it out loud. And I think sometimes people think they're going to be given more grace if they give an answer and then go, oh, sorry, if I don't know if that was okay. I'm just really nervous. Like, now you're making me doubt your answer because you didn't sound confident in it. This is another reason why we practice, so that you know how long your answer should be and you're confident that I've given the information I need to give and I can stop. Don't tell them, sorry, I'm nervous, hope that was okay. Okay, number 8, I've had people in interviews say, oh, well, so-and-so actually recommended me for this position and that's why I'm here. If you were recommended, they already know you were recommended. You don't need to share that information. And it kind of, in this weird way, ends up seeming like you think, I've got this job already. This is just a formality because they already recommended me. So it's fine. Like I'm really excited to be here because so and so recommended I apply and really encouraged me to because they thought I'd be a good fit. This person is making their mind up. If they think you're a good fit, the recommendation got you here and into the room, but it's not going to get you the job. So don't bring it up. Okay, this next one is shocking, but it happens.
Writing's not that easy, but Grammarly can help. This sentence is grammatically
all the time. Number 9, do not say you never use their product, watch their show, go to their website, whatever it is. If you're going to Taco Bell, you better have eaten Taco Bell that week so you can talk about if you like it. If you are going to an interview at a website, you better use their website. Working in television, it was so shocking how many people would go, oh, I never watch TV. Then why do you want to work in this industry? There are thousands of people who love television and are dying for this spot, and you're getting this seat in the room and you're going to waste it and tell me like, I don't really like TV. No, can't do it. So whatever it is about that company or about that industry, make sure you have some things to say about it. And even if you don't like it, you're going to have to fake it till you make it. Like if I had to interview at a snowboarding company, I'm afraid of heights. I've never skied or snowboarded in my life, but I would go watch some videos on snowboarders and find something that I connect with and say, that thing that they do, I just find that so fascinating how brave they are to get up on that mountain. And that just really is something I'm passionate about, that these people are so brave and courageous in that way. And that's something I try to emulate in my own life. Like, I don't know, you got to figure out some connection to that. Now, number 10 is kind of an offshoot of that one. Make sure you know that company's product. So I had a friend who recruited at one television network, and she'd ask on every interview, what's your favorite show on our network? And all the time, candidates would say a show from another network. She's like, but that's not the show we make. We don't make that show. So it just shows you didn't do your research about the company. You need to go find something about their product that you like. Make sure you're not talking about a competitor. That's kind of the difference on number 10. Number 9, you need to make sure you have interest in that industry or that company. Number 10, don't talk about a competitor. So don't mess up and say, I love your gordita crunch, but you're at an interview at Del Taco. That's a Taco Bell product, right? So you need, I don't know why, I'm not hungry for Taco Bell, but I'm just going to keep bringing it up. You need to make sure that you are talking about them and not their competitor. So those are 10 tips to help you out, things you don't want to say in a job interview. Hopefully this will help you in formulating your answers. If you need more help getting prepped and ready for the interview,
All right. I think those were great, great videos because they kind of reiterate what I said, right? You know, and kind of reinforced it, saying, you know, just know what you're doing when you get in there, or know about the product, know about the menu, know about whatever it is. Don't come in there what I call cold. You need to do it. So let's take another 10-minute break, or actually let's make it a 5-minute break, and we're going to go until around 9:30 today. Let's take a 5-minute break, and then we'll come back and push through it until 9:30. All right, good?
Heard, Chef.
Rock and roll. See you in 5. All right, I'm gonna start talking if y'all don't mind, so I can push through this. All right, so let's talk about salary or wages. And that lady was talking about how, you know, you shouldn't ask about the salary. Now, that's a kind of a sticky subject with me. I sometimes, if they open that door, if they do, if that business or whatever else, if they open that door up a little bit and say, how much are you looking for or whatever else, be honest. But what I would say is be honest and be realistic. When you say that. All right, now wages, again, this is kind of calculating, and I'm not going to go into, there's some calculations, how to calculate like server pay and part-time pay and all of that. But what I just really want you to understand and know about is just like, you have different wages. You have sorry, hold on a second. You have salary versus hourly. And now salary versus hourly. Now think about, most salaried employees, they are all salary employees are all basically you have to work whenever they tell you to work, right? Like I don't have a specific time. I mean, I do have a specific time that I usually work, but I mean, if I'm a salaried employee, they can call me in at any point and say, hey, I need you to come in. And that's part of my job. Being a salaried employee, it means that I'm a little more on the beck and call. When they call me, I've got to jump a little bit higher than regular like hourly employees. Hourly employees, you are kind of designated. How many hours typically is an hourly employee supposed to get? Anybody?
It depends on whether they're full-time or part-time.
If they're full-time, what do you think?
At least 40 hours a week.
Okay, at least 40 hours. Okay, so and that's what typically you want to stay at 40-hour work week, right? So I will when I'm so you're only getting paid for the hours you work, right? And you can get overtime for if you go over the 40 hours and all of that, and that's time and a half, and you get extra because you're working more than you're supposed to be required to work. But for salaried employees, there is no they can work me 80 hours a week. They can work me 100 hours a week. I have to come in. I might have to do a close and an open, a cloping, kind of a cloping, a close and an open, and those are very hard on employees because you have to close and then you got to reopen the business. So though in a salaried employee typically gets more abused. I typically will, the people that, let's say I'm slow, our business is slow today, I would send home, or, like if we're not busy and I've got a full staff, I would send home my hourly employees first. Why? Because if I can send them home, I don't have to pay them, right? But I'm gonna always have to pay my hourly employees no matter what. I mean, my I can't even say it. Salary employees, I have to pay them all the time, no matter what. That's just required because it's kind of basically a spread it out over the year, and this is how much you get per month. But you work a lot more. I'm mostly on salary employees, but again, it depends on, you can make a lot more money doing hourly work, because you can get OT, overtime, or holiday pay. Any of that holiday pay and overtime, that's nothing salary employee can get. They can't get that because that's just not what they signed up for. So differences on that. Hourly employees are paid obviously an hourly rate up to 40 hours, 40-hour work week. Salary employees are typically not given overtime pay. I've never been in a situation where I've ever seen a salary employee ever get overtime pay. But again, there might be one, but I've never seen it in as of yet. Let's see. Paid, non-exempt and exempt, you have like, for example, I mean, this is like hourly, calculating hourly pay and wages, right? It's pretty simple, and this is something that you really don't need to know for the class, but this is kind of how, if you ever want to refer back to figuring out how to calculate hourly and salary and all of that, this is kind of how you do it. Let's see, and you just got to make sure that your employees, again, overtime is not always the best thing, because I've got to have more. So time and a half. So they get paid basically their salary plus half of their salary, right? That's basically what time and a half is. So you're getting paid more. So what I need to make sure is I have more revenue coming in, more business coming in, so where I can be able to pay my employees. Because if I'm not having revenue coming in and my hourly employees are milking, what I call milking the clock type of deal, or whatever else, that's not a good thing on me, because I'm not bringing in any extra money. So, but I am having to put out a lot more extra money to the employee that is going over the 40 hours. So that is why you typically schedule even a full-time employee under 40 hours, just so you usually schedule them around 38, 37, maybe 35 hours. And then so throughout the week, they're probably going to clock out a little later. And that gives you a little padding so where you're not hitting that 40 hours. Or they're just kind of barely hitting the 40 hours instead of going over the 40 hours and getting OT. And then I've got to be very careful, because it's on the average for an employee to be part-time. If they get pay, or if they go over 40 hours over a longer period of time, they're considered a full employee, or like or not a, or I'm sorry, that was a part-time. My apologies. I was talking part-time. But an employee, you just got to really be careful on OT. OT is a killer when it comes to keeping all your money in balance, because no matter what, if you're having to pay your employees a little bit more, that means you need more sales coming in your door to be able to pay them, so where you're not in the negative. Does that make sense? So you have to have that sales to come, to manage that. Hourly versus salary, I mean, this is kind of how you pay an hourly employee. $10 an hour times, 50, and then just kind of goes into it. But you really don't need to know that for this class. I just have it there for your information. but knowing, and for you, knowing how to calculate, okay, if it's $15 an hour, this is what I'm getting paid, or this is how I'm going to make. And then you can decide, okay, you can figure out if I'm getting $15 an hour, how much is that per year? And you can kind of figure that out as well. Hourly employees must pay their hourly employees either the state and federal minimum wage, which is higher. It's been raised. They're raising it, but again, the more money you raise up, the more sales it's going to. If we're going to pay our employees more, and that means that I've got to, the cost is going to ripple down effect to the customers. And you got to think about this. If minimum wage is $15 an hour, starting off. So that means my dishwasher, and usually my dishwasher is going to get paid $15 an hour. So that's not a skilled position. My skilled position is a line cook or a grill or saute or whatever else. That's a little higher. So you need to make sure you have those sales coming in to be able to manage that. If not, you're going to go out of business. Here is kind of a map of kind of what the minimum wage is nowadays. Now, Austin's a little different. Austin changed, and I think they're $15 an hour, I believe. Is that correct? Does anybody know? I think I do have a slide on here that's saying that. But here, now for minimum wage for tip employees. So here, like a server gets paid $2.13 an hour plus tips. Yes.
You're not sharing your screen.
Oh, I'm not? I'm so sorry. Has it been like that this whole time? I am so sorry.
Yeah.
All right. Am I now sharing it?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, my apologies. Here is the map of all of the minimum wage right here. Of all the, kind of basically around, I mean, look at Minnesota. So crazy. Georgia, $5.15. So these are some of the minimum wages throughout. I mean, that's interesting. Here you go for $2 for anybody that is doing, like wait staff or whatever else, $2.13 an hour is what you get for wait staff, and then you get plus tips. And thank you. Sorry, I did not realize I was not sharing. I apologize. New benefits for raising the minimum wage up to $15 an hour. Stereotype, this is what the stereotype is, but realistically, this is kind of the percentages of what happens if you raise your, raise it to $15 an hour. And minimum wage in Austin is $15 an hour, and that was effective September 18th or September 2018. For temporary employees, $13.84 per hour will increase to $15 per hour in effective the 20th of 2019. And this was something that the city of Austin did for a living wage because the cost of living started getting higher, and it was costing out people out of Austin. So that's why they kind of brought that in. But again, it's a double-edged sword, just because of you got to be careful, and you got to make sure that your sales, you have enough to cover all those costs of your employees. Working hours. Hour work. Permits, you might need pay for hourly employees. Sometimes you need hourly work. Sometimes anyway, that's contract labor. That's kind of what I want to talk about. This is a good way of being able to kind of you avoid having to pay insurance with contractors. So if I say, hey, I'm going to contract you for this one job, and so you're just a contract labor. You just get the job done. I pay you for that contract, but you don't get any benefits. You get no health insurance. You get no anything like that. And then once you are done with that position, or once you are done with that, whatever that. Let's say a catering job. Like I will contract, people to work for me for a night there, and I say, okay, you're gonna work for me for the night. I'm gonna give you this amount of money, and then once you're done, you're done. You're not my employee anymore. You're just you're done. So contract labor is a good way of having being able to do a clean break. You don't have to fire anybody. Once they're done, they are done. All of that sort of stuff. But you can try out employees by a contract method, and also like temp jobs are kind of a contract type of a job. Let's see what else that include. Okay, well, when you're writing down a contract, you need to make sure you have basically anything that person needs to know about the job. It needs to be all in writing. And this is even when you're writing a contract for, let's say, a catering gig itself. It all needs to be in writing. Please never ever do a handshake or a good old boys kind of a deal of no matter what, get it in writing, because it is very important that you do that, so where they understand what their job is entailed, and what needs to happen. Who do you hire first? And I'd already asked this question a couple of days ago, or yesterday, or maybe even day one. Who wants to tell me, who do you hire first?
Salary?
Salary, of course, because they're the ones that I can use and abuse, right? They're or not use and abuse, but they're the ones that are going to be hiring the hourly employees. So making sure that you have your hourly or your salaried employees first, because I want to, especially at the very beginning, and if anybody's ever been in an opening of a restaurant or opening of a business, you're typically there a lot of hours trying to get it all set up and working. So typically you want to hire someone that you're not gonna, you're gonna hire your salary person before you would hire my hourly people, because first of all, until the business is set up, I don't need those hourly people. What is a salary employee? A salary employee is a person that receives a fixed or regular compensation for their basically services provided. So they're providing a service for me. They're trading their time for a certain amount of money. So that is kind of what it is. What they in base is paid on an annual amount called salary, based on a 2,080 hours a year. 2,080 hours, or no, 20, not 2,000, 28, yeah, 20, 20 hour, is that right? Hold on, let me calculate that. Give me 1 second, let me calculate real quick. Oh yeah, that's right. Okay. Let's think about what's different. And then that is the salary. What is the hourly? An hourly employee is paid based on the hours, that amount that they are doing. No contract. They're not contract labor. They only pay the hours worked. The employees, they're only paid the amount worked, no matter what. If let's say I'm salary employee, if I go home sick, I still get paid, but an hourly employee goes home sick, they will not get paid. So there's some pluses and minuses to it. And this is calculating salaried employees. We do not need to know that, but if you would like to look at it, that is fine. Benefits on salary employees, guys, there's all sorts of benefits and negatives. But salary employees typically get, benefits for sure, health benefits and all of that. But special salary bonuses like vacations, health insurance, life insurance, retirement, whatever else. If I, through like an executive chef position, I was able, like whenever I was in that position, I would, if I kept all my numbers right, my food cost, my employee cost, all my overhead, and if I had any extra money left over, that was my bonus, and I would get bonuses or whatever else. So, it's also some of those benefits are good for you as well. Not paying salary or hourly employees correctly. Guys, if you don't, you are going to get legal action to you. No matter what, you gotta pay your employees, you gotta pay your taxes, you gotta pay the federal and state and local taxes and all of that sort of stuff. It is very, very important that you do that. But that is it. Any questions, problems, or concerns? And again, so sorry that I was not sharing for a little while. All right, so hold on. All right, so and remember that I got one already, but by Monday, I would like to have a 5 to 10 year plan of what you want to do once you get out of this school. 5 to 10 year plan. I have no requirements on length, how long it should be, what it should be. I just want to know what you have planned for the next 5 to 10 years. And so where you can start kind of planning your own future. So that is the only homework that you have had so far that I'm requiring you to turn in. If you could send it as a Google, share it as a Google Doc or a Google thing to me, so where I can see it. But it's just a check grade. You do it or you don't. You get a 100 or you get a 0, one of the two. But I would like that delivered to me by Monday. And please make sure you do your check your knowledges and you click every single thing that is on and you look at every single item that is in the portal. You need to click and go through every single thing for each week and make sure you go through that. But other than those 3 things, that is it for homework so far. But for next week, I need you to, and on Friday, I'm going to give you a list of things that I want you to think about for this weekend. And so you can kind of get ready for our restaurant, our menu project that we're going to start this coming up week. We good? So, all right, y'all have a great rest of your day. Happy Thursday. I will see y'all on Mr. Banks. I'll see you on Friday. Mr. Banks, did that answer your question?
Yes, Chef, it did.
Cool. Yeah, no worries, man. Hey, and I'm gonna put, for the people, my new people, I'm gonna put my cell phone number in the chat line, okay? So you have it. Let me do it. Hold on 1 second. I can't spell even my name. Crazy.
Have a good day, Chef.
Hey, you well. I'll just putting in my phone number. Hold on 1 second. Y'all have a great day. If you don't need my phone number, you can leave.
All right, Chef. Have a great day.
All right, y'all have a good day. There's my phone number, Mr. Banks.
Stay safe and take care, Chef.
Hey, thank you. Bye, guys. Y'all have a great day.
Thank you.
Did you get that number? Are you good?
Yes, Chef. Yeah, I just saved you in.
Okay, great. All right, y'all have a great rest of your day. I'm gonna log off now, okay?
All right, you too.
All right, have a great day. Bye-bye.